Muse's Will of the People, 10 songs, 37 minutes long, and Muse is a very storied band, both on this podcast and in the world. They are one of the few rock bands out there that still fill stadiums around the world. Their songs have been in music, in car commercials. They've had their rises and falls and uprise, the name of the Muse bonus that we did on Audioface that you can listen to wherever you get podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Or become a Syndicate 23 member and watch the thing on video, join.syndicate23.co. But that being said, Sean and I have liked Muse albums, we've disliked Muse albums, and we felt that they definitely have had some of the, I guess, hardest to rock with points of their career in the last decade. But their past one, maybe even two albums, well, I'd say like definitely Simulation Theory, as I was like, we just did the bonus episode and I was just going back and editing it. We felt like that left them on a good note right here.
Yes.
Will the People leaves them on a better note.
It's definitely one of my favorite return to forms I've listened to in a long time. This is up there when Coldplay released their 2019 record. I forget what record that's called. Everyday Life, I think, off the top of my head. Whatever album that came out in 2019, and then their last album that they turned out was absolute dog shit, and they had to shit on all of my points I had proved before, ironically. But this is definitely a step in the really good direction for Muse. It is stadium rock at its finest. It is them really going back to like your early era Muse, like showbiz era songs. Like I also get songs of like Assassin and stuff from their second record, and Plug-in Baby sound. Like it's a lot of that, but mixed into a stadium sound. So them kind of exploring ideas that they had maybe 20 years ago, even further than 20 years ago, that they couldn't do on a scale at that point in their careers, but they can do on a scale now. Example, like, honestly, the only track I really don't like on here is the opening, The Will of the People. I think it's all right. It's just, I really don't like the chorus part. It just gets annoying after a while. I really like the production. I like the rock of it and everything. It's just like, you don't have to say Will of the People 1,000 times.
I totally agree with that. I will say that it's actually one of my favorite Muse has matured, sort of, but not quite, but almost moments. Because if you listen very carefully to that song, there's one point where they switch Will of the People to Will of the Sheeple. And it's like...
Oh shit, I didn't even notice that. That's hilarious.
It's like... God damn it, I did the mic thing. Where you're just like... It's like, Muse. You never change. You're always there. And yeah, I actually looked up the lyrics. There is just one time in the song, in the entire chorus, where they just fuck around with it once and go Will of the Sheeple. Because
that's beautiful.
But for Muse, a band where I've complained about their political undertones, overtones being like very much hitting you over the head, as I was kind of complaining about earlier in Audioface, or contrasting it to earlier in this episode, I felt like that song and this album, Muse is still a political band. They're still like making those like 100%. Points and those ideas clear. But this is the most understated while still being apparent, like, sort of record ever. I think all music records have something to do with dystopia. I think this has something to do with mob mentality. And when you have, like kind of crowds taking over. I think Will of the People is sort of that idea that like, hey, we're just listening to what the populace say, whether the populace are right or wrong. And I get some of that in all these other different things here. But of course, it's also a Muse record that has... rock themes of love, but also a Muse record of, rock themes of existence and being.
Yeah.
But yeah, Will of the People, I think you could go either way with that track, totally.
Yeah. Compliance, really nice Muse track. I think it's great as the second track. Gets you more into electronic side and everything, and it sounds like, yeah, this is a Muse track. This is a Muse record. Like, this is definitely, like, what they sound like. But I actually enjoyed it a lot. I like how it slows down, speeds back up, and everything gets into it. Liberation, to me, the third song, is where I'm like, okay, this is becoming a really good album. Because it slows it down, because this beautiful rock ballad that's almost like modern Queen-esque is how like I would say the sound is. Like Matthew Bellany's voice has not sounded better. It's just beautiful with it. The production, everything, all the subtle all the subtle undertones of their political messaging and stuff throughout it is really lovely too. And it's just, to me, it's like them at their best. Of all I think about when I'm listening to Liberation is like, yeah, damn, that's gonna sound amazing in a stadium. Like you feel the O2 with that, and just hearing that beautiful ballad at the piano, it's just gonna be amazing live.
And
And
there are times when we've complained about Muse kind of being too full of themselves. It's funny because that was an early complaint of Muse that critics gave them. And I think that's kind of continued throughout their career, even though I think they own up to it more. Like, we've always said stadium rock because, like, it's really kind of, like, massive. It feels like it deserves to be in a large place. But I feel like in this record, especially with tracks like Liberation, there's a point in Muse's career where a song like Liberation would have been 17 minutes long, and they would have just been like waving their dicks for like 14 minutes the entire time, going like, "We're the best rock band in the world," la da 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 da. But like, no, they've muted themselves down. They know they don't need to overperform. They have gotten the chip off their shoulder of like needing to make the best record possible, and now they've hit the point of where they're making art that they like, and they're also making art that's just like very good, that fits the quality of, you know, the Muse quality seal of approval, which again, there are a couple albums in the decade that I couldn't give that to. I'll leave the specifics of the Muse bonus.
Yeah. Once said down, really nice hard rock, hard hitting vocals. It's just like screechy towards the end. Matt's just like literally screaming into the mic, and it's really good energy picking up. Love that track. And it goes into Ghosts in parentheses. How can I move on? Oh my god, what a fucking track!
Yeah,
beautiful.
It complements
Perfect
Liberation.
Yeah, super complements like the whole beginning of the record, and it's just like I love it. I can't say much more than that. It's just, I love the placement of it, everything, the lyricism in it. Just you feel all of it, and the piano is beautiful.
Yeah, I kind of like on my third listen to this record, I feel like Liberation, Ghosts, and maybe Euphoria can serve as definitely not interlude tracks, because interlude usually implies like, oh, this only serves the purpose of getting you from one part of the album to another. It serves that purpose very well, but they're also damn good tracks, and they're softer things than you expect from Muse. But of course, Muse is very capable of doing that. They're very good at doing that. But I think by spacing these songs out, it's the best execution of their space opera, space rock opera kind of like sound that they always try to incorporate in all of their records. You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween. Wonderful ballad. It's like it should be on every person's Halloween playlist like forever. It's a great track. I feel some DNA of earlier Muse in that song as well. It's very fun. The boys just like having a good time in that track. You get the electronic flair that you also got from Compliance, and yeah, like you almost get some like youthful exuberance in here, which is amazing for a band that's been around since the mid to late 90s. I think we remarked earlier in the episode they're almost as old as Radiohead.
Yeah, they're pretty close to Radiohead, actually.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Another thing we haven't, other than, you know, the usual specs we do on the podcast, thank God Muse made a sub 40-minute record in 2022.
Yes, they needed to be short like this. It needed to be to the point and everything. And there's not one song out of place. There's no real filler in this record. It all flows well together. You have, as you alluded to earlier, you have those tracks that are slower, but they're beautiful transition pieces that make this record flow. Because if it was all just, Kill or Be Killed and We Are Being Fucked for 40 minutes, We Are Fucking Fucked for 40 minutes, by the way, I will get to that song in a minute, it would have just been stagnant, and I would be like, oh, Muse are going backwards, or maybe that's it. Like, their last good album maybe was Simulation Theory. Like, they don't have it anymore. But with this, it shows me, like, they are really having fun making art that they want to do. They are making tracks that they've wanted to make for a long time, but maybe weren't confident enough in it. Maybe they didn't have like the means to do it and whatnot. And now they do, having the history that they've had and having the illustrious careers that they've had. They're like, I want to make what I want to make. And you get that. An example, the last track, We Are Fucking Fucked, is amazing as an ender. It's just like, in your face, just doesn't care like how political it is, and just the production, everything. It's just great, and it's old new Muse at its best.
Truly. I was very happy. Like, I was, coming off of the Muse bonus, I was very happy with how it turned out. I was like, I really have a new appreciation for doing Muse, not having listened to that episode, but just producing that episode. And I listened to this record the first time, and I was like, I must be having first listen bias to this, because I like this much more than I expected to like a Muse record in 2022.
Yep, me too.
Then I listened to it the second time, and I was like, God damn it, they got me. It's a really good record. But like, I'm not actually angry. I'm very happy that, Gorillaz, Muse, Radiohead, those are like my top 3 bands when I was a kid. I can safely say that all 3 of them are still good. There are a lot of bands that I can't say that about right now. And for the people who have those bands as their number ones, rip to you. But I'm very happy to be able to say that. And you know what? Muse is probably the shakiest of those 3. Gorillaz has had some moments, but I'd say Muse has been the shakiest of those 3. But they really turned it around. I would be happy with this being their last record.
I would definitely be happy with this being their last record. Yep. And if maybe they do like a couple EPs or random singles here or there, great. But as like a full LP, I would be very happy with it just chilling.
Muse of all bands should be taking the Johnny Greenwood, Tom York route and start like scoring films and TV shows.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, they did a little bit of that shortly in like the 2008s, like early 2010s era, I feel like. So I feel like they could definitely do that again. They should. I mean, they wrote the song for the Olympics. God damn it. More for the Muse bonus, which people should definitely check out. I think I'm going to release one of the retro reviews from that just to see like how the audience reacts on YouTube to old reviews, like classics. Because I think those are really good ones. But anyways, arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface because our review is our review. If we gave it a numerical rating or a letter grade or something like that, it would just make unnecessary comparisons that would get our email inboxes filled with nerds complaining instead of sponsorship emails, which is what I'm actually looking for. Anyways, this week it's classified government documents from any government. Sean, what'll this be?
Pentagon Papers, baby.
Ooh. I think
Beautiful.
I'll go with the Panama Papers.
Panama Papers.
I'm more of an econ guy, so.
Yeah, you are kind of an econ guy. I'm more of a, more policy.
Yeah,
guy.
deep state guy. Yes.
I like my deep state.
Together on PowerPoint, we collide.
Hence the 3 choices I made.
Yeah. Wonderful arbitrary scale from Muse accidentally.
Deadass, yeah.